donate.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
You've worked so hard on these things. You've worked so hard on the kidney. Very special. The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing. People that have to go to this, people that have loved ones that are working so hard to stay alive. They have to work so hard. There's an esprit de corps, there's a spirit like you see rarely on anything. So I just want to thank all of you folks for being here. It's really fantastic. And
what language is he speaking? What is that? There's your stable genius talking about the kidney. The kidney, it's got a special place in the heart. The kidney does. You should. I wish I had the ability. I should have, Brett. You should have put your face on the YouTube right there. His face was like, what? What now? What is this horrible man? What now? What the kid? Yeah, this stable genius does not know what kidneys do. He doesn't know where they are in the body. He didn't know it, and he had to give a speech to some science-y group that does work on kidney disease. Now he's in court, obviously trying to overthrow the ACA. But that said, he's a stable genius, right? I mean, the kidney has a yes, he eats them, is what he knows about kidneys. He eats them. So anyway, he's been very busy today. Your president. He's been super, super busy today. He had a right-wing troll farm festival at the White House. He had a group of, the most ridiculous conspiracy, lying sacks of crap, video, meme makers, InfoWars guys, Project Veritas guys. Who? Who?
PragerU.
What's PragerU?
Dennis Prager.
Oh, Dennis.
Yeah, Prager University. It's all about conservative living.
Diamond and Silk. I mean, he had like all these nutbags at the White House to have a social media summit. And as he was having his social media summit, this was really weird. Far be it from me to, have a conspiracy theory about conspiracy theorists. But it was weird. I mean, they were all at the White House. He is doing this social media summit with crazy people. And as he was there, Twitter got unplugged. Twitter just stopped working for a little while there during his social media summit. It's very weird. And also Reddit. Reddit was taken offline. So I don't want to, listen, I'll say this. He complains all the time that he's being censored, that conservatives are being censored, and that Twitter, Jack Dorsey is censoring him because he's losing, some followers on Twitter, which is just, I mean, first of all, what they did was on Twitter, they cleaned up some of the bot activity, and he had a lot of those following him. So he lost it, and now he's actually put back I just don't even know. But so he decided that since he can't, the court ruled this week that he cannot ban people from Twitter who disagree with him, which he wanted to do. So then he had the social media summit, and maybe they said to him, you know what, you can't ban, but we want to show you something, sir. You could take the whole thing offline. If you wanted to keep, the resistance from talking to each other, or if you wanted to keep, real facts like the New York Times and Maggie Haberman, and if you wanted, Farenthold, and you wanted Aaron Blake and all these people not to have, the ability to talk to, millions and millions of Americans on Twitter, what you could do is unplug the whole thing. Here, we'll show you how. I don't know, but it was just... I mean, from talking about how the kidney has a special place in the heart to now he's holding a social media. The man knows nothing about social media except how to use his thumbs to tweet on the toilet every single freaking morning. It's all he knows. And then all of a sudden, Twitter's offline, and Reddit, where they like to, gather and spread, white supremacy, craziness. All of a sudden, I don't know. I can't explain it any better than coincidence. And there are coincidences take a lot of planning. But here he is making all these BS claims about social media.
Look at social media.
Okay.
It's a thing called free speech rights. We have literally thousands and thousands of complaints coming in. And it seems to be if they're conservative, if they're Republicans, if they're in a certain group, there's discrimination and big discrimination. We will not let large corporations silence conservative voices. Things are happening. Names are taken off. People aren't getting through. You look at Google, Facebook, Twitter. Google and Twitter and Facebook. Social media giants. They're really treading on very, very troubled territory. We, as a country, cannot tolerate political censorship, blacklisting, and rigged search results. And they have to be careful. It's not fair to large portions of the population. And it can go the other way also. So something's happening with those groups of folks that are running Facebook and Google and Twitter. And I do think we have to get to the bottom of it. It's very fair. It's collusive, and it's very, very fair to say that we have to do something about it. And we're not going to let them control what we can and cannot see, read, and learn from. We can't do that.
He's such a doofus. First of all, let me just tell you, the president's got like 64 million Twitter followers. You know what I mean? And when they took the bots off, it went down to like 58. It's just so sad. And there is no evidence of anti-conservative bias on social media. Fox News owns Facebook, okay? Over the past 12 months, 320 million likes, comments, and shares on Facebook, okay? Nobody's censoring any of their BS. Nobody is censoring any of their Seth Rich conspiracy theories, which now we know came from the SVR, from the Russian military intelligence units. I mean, this was a bulletin that they put, and it was repeated on Fox News. You had Newt Gingrich, pushing out this story. They had breaking news, and Fox was signing their name to the validity of the Seth Rich was the leaker to WikiLeaks, and Sean Hannity interviews Julian Assange and asks him, was Seth Rich the supplier of the emails? Didn't he hack the DNC himself? And give you because he was so upset about Bernie. I mean, the kid was murdered. He was murdered in a neighborhood that had 7 armed robberies just in the weeks before he was the victim of an armed robbery and shot and killed. But Fox News ran with it. Newt Gingrich ran with it. I mean,
at the same time, we have this very strange story now of this young man who worked for the Democratic National Committee who apparently was assassinated at 4 in the morning, having given WikiLeaks something like 53,000 emails and 17,000 attachments. Nobody's investigating that.
Yeah, everybody was investigating that, including the investigator who said that she got so freaking upset with this fake news thing that was going on at Fox about this murder that she was investigating, that she actually contacted our intelligence units and asked if they had any information at all that Seth Rich had done any of the things that Fox News was saying he did. And they said, no, this came from Russian intelligence. That's how this story got broken and opened up for the truth.
Back with the Fox News alert, a brand new bombshell in the murder of that guy right there, a DNC staffer. An investigator now says Seth Rich was in contact with WikiLeaks.
No, he was not in contact with WikiLeaks. That was phony, fake Russian intelligence disinformation that went all the way into the White House, Fox News, Sean Hannity, Julian Assange. He alluded to it. Newt Gingrich said, oh, the kid was assassinated. And, of course, by Hillary Clinton. There is no censorship at all of this fake swill, this racist station, this Tucker Carlson, Ilhan Omar, by the way, is a threat to America. That's why we have to end immigration, because a Somali immigrant could run and win a congressional seat. Oh, nobody is censoring them. They should, but we don't.
A all things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
NBC News confirming ICE raids on undocumented immigrants are set to start this Sunday. They've been postponed from a few weeks ago, remember?
Yeah.
Well, today, senior DHS officials tell us these are expected to happen in these 10 cities coast to coast, from Atlanta to Denver to LA and beyond, targeting some 2,000 families. Members of Congress are already furious about it.
There have been beds for people who have been suffering in the heat and outdoors in absolute inhumane conditions, so that Donald Trump would have a way to do this interior enforcement. Shame, shame, shame on this awful administration.
Collateral means kids being left. It means moms, dads, families being torn apart. It is absolutely disgusting.
It is disgusting, and they're going to happen this Sunday. There'll be raids in what they call the interior of the country. The ICE officers are charged with targeting families. Raids to round up families and children that are fleeing danger, children that have already died in overcrowded detention camps. It's the Trump administration's answer to a summer blockbuster, everybody. This is unbelievable. But if this was part of a big summer movie, it would happen in a dystopian world. And there would be, like some sort of a hero who was trying to, fix it, who was fighting, Where are the heroes in this story? I can only hope that there are some ICE agents who will have a difficult time arresting a baby and breaking up families where the children might be U.S. citizens, but the father may not be. The children might be U.S. citizens, but the mother may not be. Yesterday, Congress heard from a woman named Yasmin Juarez, who was fleeing Guatemala with a 2-year-old daughter, and her daughter died of a lung infection after being held in our detention camps. It's all part of Trump's plan to make what you're fleeing not so bad as America. Make America hate again. That is really this testimony just ripped my guts out, okay? This is so sad and sick. I just, and now we're gonna break up even more family. I mean, I don't know if you heard her. I'm playing her. This is unbelievable. At the end of her testimony, I must tell you, House members were in tears.
My name is Yasmin Juarez. My daughter, Maria, and I fled Guatemala seeking asylum in the United States. We made this journey because we feared for our lives. The trip was dangerous, but I was more afraid of what might happen to us if we stayed. So we came to the United States, where I hope to build a better, safer life for us. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Instead, I watched my baby girl die slowly and painfully, just a few months before her second birthday.
María había perdido casi el 8% de su peso corporal en solo 10 días. Todavía vomitaba constantemente. Finalmente la vio un médico y este médico me dijo que le diera Pedialyte y Vicks Vaporub, en el cual luego, después de su muerte, yo hacía investigaciones en internet que el Vicks Vaporub no debe darse a un niño menor de 12 años porque causa daños respiratorios.
Maria lost almost 8% of her body weight in just 10 days.
Oh, God.
She was still vomiting constantly. When she was finally seen by a doctor, they told me to give her Pedialyte and Vicks VapoRub. I didn't learn until after she died, when I was researching it online, that you aren't supposed to give Vicks to kids under 2 years old because it could cause respiratory problems.
Yo estaba aterrorizada cuando aterrizamos. Mi madre y yo la llevamos a un pediatra tan pronto como pudimos. Y unas horas más tarde la llevamos a sala de emergencias. Ella fue ingresada a la unidad de cuidados intensivos con una infección viral de pulmones. Durante las siguientes 6 semanas la trasladaron a otro hospital de niños. Mi niña sufría un dolor, fue pinchada y pinchada y finalmente necesitó un ventilador para poder ayudarla a respirar. Ni siquiera podía sostenerla, abrazarla, consolarla cuando pedía por su madre. Fue un dolor terrible poder ver a mi hija en esas situaciones, en esas circunstancias. Yo hubiese querido como madre poder estar ahí en su lugar y no ella.
I was terrified by the time our plane landed. We took Maria to a pediatrician as soon as we could, and just a few hours later, to the emergency room. She was admitted to the intensive care unit with a viral lung infection. Over the next 6 weeks, she was transferred to another children's hospital. My little girl suffered horrible pain. She was poked and prodded and eventually needed a ventilator to help her breathe. I couldn't even hold her or hug her or console her when she asked for her mother. It was a terrible pain to see my child in a situation and circumstance like this one, and as a mother, I wish that I could have taken her place.
Todo el arduo trabajo de los médicos llegó demasiado tarde. Mi María murió el Día de las Madres, que es en la ciudad de mi país, se celebra el Día de las Madres. Cuando yo salí del hospital ese día, todo lo que tenía conmigo era un pedazo de papel en la cual los médicos se encargaron de hacer las manitas de mi niña. Eso era lo único que a mí me quedó. Solo sus manitas. Las enfermeras lo hicieron el día anterior como regalo del Día de las Madres.
All of the hard work of these doctors came too late. My Maria died on what is Mother's Day in my country. When I walked out of the hospital that day, all I had with me was a piece of paper with Maria's handprints in pink paint that the staff had created for me. It was the only thing that I had left, and the nurses had given it to me as a Mother's Day gift.
Trump's America, everybody. Trump's America. So she's suing. DHS. She's suing for $60 million. But you know what? She said that she was there because people have got to know what is going on in these camps. What is going on in these... You know, they told... Her baby had a viral lung infection, 2 years old, and they told her Vicks Vapor Rub. Seriously? Pedialyte and Vicks Vapor Rub. Finally, she went back to Mexico. That's where the hospital was. And they tried and tried and tried. Baby was in agony, like unbelievable pain. And she couldn't even hold her kid because she was on a ventilator. And she died of a viral lung infection contracted in our camps. Now come the raids. What could go wrong?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
The New York Times is reporting that nationwide ICE raids on undocumented immigrants living here in the U.S. will start this Sunday. Let's get right to CNN's Nick Valencia. He is on the border of El Paso, Texas. What do we know about this, Nick?
Allison, you remember the raids that were expected to happen back in June in 10 major U.S. cities that were later called off in an unprecedented announcement by President Trump. Well, those raids are back on. This, according to the New York Times, who spoke to 2 current Department of Homeland Security officials as well as 1 former official. They say the raids are expected to happen on Sunday and last several days. The target of these raids will be at least 2,000 undocumented immigrants with current removal orders. But how these raids might be different is they will also, according to the Times, include collateral arrests, meaning even if an undocumented immigrant is not the target of a raid but happens to be on the scene of one, they too may be detained by ICE officials. Now, U.S. Customs, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Acting Director was asked about this. Here's what Ken Cuccinelli had to say.
Oh, God, I hate him.
They're absolutely going to happen. There's approximately 1 million people in this country with removal orders. Of course, that isn't what ICE will go after in this, but that's the pool of people who've been all the way through the due process chain.
According to the New York Times, the Trump administration's goal in these raids is to send a strong message to those who are thinking about crossing the southern border illegally.
It's a deterrent, everybody. It's a deterrent to separate families any way he can. To separate people who are undocumented, who may have kids who are American citizens, to anybody in the area, any collateral damage. And they're going to claim, oh, it's these people with the final deportation orders. But, they have mass trials down at the border, like, 50, 60 people at a time. And they just dismiss their case and that's it, and this is so sick. And the reason that, the people are being forced to sleep outside, the kids are being forced to sleep outside on rocks and on sand with Mylar blankets, is so that they could free up the beds so that they could do the interior enforcement. So that this is so sick. This is so crazy. And we're going to have, you do have a few agents, just a few, who are a little skittish, a little bit, just a touch, just a tad. I'm sure they can be persuaded by their friends in the force to go ahead and arrest toddlers, to go ahead and take the baby. Anybody who happens to be on the scene, even though they're not targets of the raid. 2,000 targets and collateral also. Babies, young children. And according to this New York Times report that was quoted in the CNN report, they said it's very rare that such coordinated raids have ever occurred. Agents have expressed apprehensions about arresting babies and young children. The agents also said this will have limited success because word has already spread through Donald Trump's Twitter feed that they were going to happen, and they're putting ICE agents in danger, they think. And also, immigrants are being helped by their mayors, they're being helped by House members, they're being helped by governors in certain states, and they're being given information about ICE. Now, we went through this whole long list of what you do if ICE is trying to arrest you. The first thing you do is they knock on your door. Don't open the door. Do not open the door. Why? Why? Because ICE agents are not legally allowed to forcibly enter a home. Why? Because being here without papers is a civil offense. It is not a criminal offense. And so that is why they can't bust down your door. So just don't open the door if you can avoid opening the door. You do have a lot of defense lawyers out there that are working pro bono from groups like RACES and other, not-for-profit pro bono lawyers. I know even Howard has been trying to sign himself up to be a pro bono lawyer for this pushback on these raids. The lawyers are offering to file motions to reopen these immigration cases that, were the subject of mass immigration trials where, you have like 50 guys, 50 families, 50 whatever, 100 people in a room. A judge just dismisses everybody's asylum claim or whatever. So all of these pro bono lawyers are volunteering to file motions to reopen their cases. And when that happens, it delays their deportation, if not stops it altogether. So that's what a lot of good lawyers are doing. It's what a lot of people of conscience are doing. People who can help are trying to help. They are volunteering. Even the Department of Homeland Security is acting. Now, Acosta, as we discussed yesterday, he was confirmed. Good going, Mitch McConnell. But we have an acting director in the Department of Homeland Security, and he told the previous acting director, Mr. Morgan, to call off this operation, and because he didn't support the raids out of concern that the undocumented parents would be separated from their American citizen children. And he didn't want a whole bunch of broken families and all of these vulnerable children with nobody to take care of them anymore, becoming another problem in this country. And so there was this very, very tense meeting. And Mr. Morgan, who was the acting director of the Department of Homeland Security, who's now been moved over to Customs and Border Protection, CBP, where, those guys can't even pass a lie detector test, half of them. Mr. Morgan, went to Donald Trump himself and said, move forward with these raids. Just do it. So they moved him over to Customs and Border Protection, and they put McAleenan in charge of DHS. And so even they're divided about these raids. McAleenan saying, no, don't do it. It's going to create another disaster. You're going to have pictures of little babies living in America with no one to take care of them. We're going to have to find sponsors for these babies. We're going to have to find aunts and uncles and grandparents and screen them and all that. It's insane what you're about to cause. And Mr. Morgan, who is now in charge of CBP, he said, no, let's do it. Let's do it. McAleenan said the challenges of the operation is separation of families and the logistics of housing these families until you can actually remove them, if it's possible, because a lot of lawyers are going to file to open up their cases again. Yes, they will. So you're going to have all of these parents who have children who are U.S. citizens, and ICE agents are going to need to put the children somewhere. Hence what I told you before, they're going to put them in hotel rooms. They're going to put these children in hotel rooms and try to contact a close relative somewhere in the United States to claim them. Now, they could have done this at Border Patrol in the first place, okay, with these kids. These kids could have gone to sponsors. They did not have to be sleeping outside. They did not have to be dying in the heat. They did not have to be, kept in overflowing toilet conditions. They could have gone to a spot. Now they're going to put them in a hotel room? This is insane.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This morning, the New York Times is reporting that nationwide arrests of undocumented families are scheduled to begin Sunday. According to two current and one former Homeland Security official who spoke with the paper, details about the raids are still in flux, but will be conducted by Immigration and Customs Enforcement over multiple days in at least 10 major cities. The target's at least 2,000 immigrants who have been ordered deported. An ICE spokesman told the New York Times that the agency would not comment on enforcement operations. Last month, the president announced he was delaying a nationwide roundup of undocumented immigrants after tweeting about the plan. At the time, the president blamed the delay on Democrats, but two Homeland Security officials told NBC News the plan was delayed due to media leaks and some resistance within the administration. Last week, the president said the raids would begin fairly soon.
Well, I don't call them raids. I say they came in illegally, and we're bringing them out legally.
All this comes amid more scrutiny for a Customs and Border Protection facility in Yuma, Arizona. NBC News obtained dozens of reports from the Department of Health and Human Services detailing alleged mistreatment of migrant children in custody there. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle weighing in.
The top people at CBP ought to be fired now.
I was at that Yuma detention facility, and they were doing the very best they could under terrible circumstances.
Among the allegations at the facility, a teenage girl told a government caseworker she was sexually assaulted by an officer.
Great.
The Department of Homeland Security says the allegations do not align with common practice at our facilities and will be fully investigated.
Yeah.
Y ahora estoy sufriendo.
Also on Capitol Hill, a Guatemalan mother telling Congress her one-year-old daughter died just weeks after being released from a U.S. detention facility because of neglect and mistreatment. The emotional testimony bringing Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to tears.
Great. America, the land of the camps and the raids. Isn't that what we thought America was? Isn't that what we, fight for? Isn't that why we sign up and decided to wear the uniform? Isn't that why? So we could have camps detention camps, so we could have concentration camps where little babies die from undiagnosed and untreated lung infections and filth. And then if they survive, then, when they go into the interior, then we raid the house and we put them in a hotel room. God only knows how many babies are we going to put in one hotel room. What could go wrong with that plan? Well, I just want you to know that there are plenty of lawyers that are so disgusted and so offended and so angry that they are willing to do whatever they need to do. And when a lawyer does something for free, they must be pissed. But one of the lawyers that was on the tour that saw the treatment of these children, one of the attorneys, called another friend of hers who was also an attorney, an activist and attorney, who had a very big social media following. And they said that they spoke for about an hour about everything that they knew and saw. One of the attorneys said she saw babies that were listless. She saw unresponsive babies. She saw teenage mothers who had gotten no medical attention. She saw a preemie that was born in Mexico who had not been given any medical attention in our custody, that was laying in a dirty onesie. And so they started to talk about their experiences and what they had seen on Twitter, and they got 55,000 retweets. So they linked with other immigrant rights organizations, and they came up with something that is going to happen tomorrow in 680 worldwide events. This is going to make the Women's March after the Trump, election look silly. Okay, their goal is to outdo the Women's March. So they started with 5 events. Lightsforliberty.org is the website. They started with 5 core events. One was in New York, Washington, San Diego, El Paso, and Homestead, Florida. Okay, and after 3 weeks of organizing, 608 local events in more than 24 countries around the world have joined this network. Now, the first Women's March had 680 worldwide events. Lights for Liberty hopes to exceed the Women's March. They said, quote, "Our perspective is that asking for asylum is legal. Immigration is a civil matter. There is no need for somebody to be in detention if they're not charged with a crime." And that's all true. And on top of it, I want to add that if those young mothers and those babies had a sponsor, and a lot of them had phone numbers of somebody that was already in the United States, on their shoe, on their arm, then what should have happened was those sponsors should have been called, and those children and young mothers should have been placed with those sponsor families, thereby avoiding all of this death and all of this filth and all of this one shower for 800 people scenarios. It was all preventable. I just want you to know that, because I know a lot of people in this audience are very small-minded, and they go, well, what did you want them to do with these people? These people have family here. They did not have to be treated in this manner. You know, they always tell you, 7 kids are dead now. 7 kids are... It's like 45 people have died. Anyway, lightsforliberty.org. They want to end human concentration camps. And they are going to support numerous organizations, both at the local and regional level, that are doing hands-on work for recent arrivals, especially the young mothers and children who are trying to claim asylum. And that is it is a legal thing to do. It is a legal way to come into this country. If I hear one more person tell me, well, it's an affront to those of us who came in legally. How do you know, A, how your family came in? Number one. Number two, go take a look at the ships full of immigrants that came from all over the world in the early 1900s. Go look. Those were their caravans, okay? Those ships packed with teeming immigration, teeming people from all over the world. And you know what we did? We put up a statue to it and we said, give us your tired, your poor. Give us your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. Send them to us. Now, we only half respected that. The U.S. Holocaust Museum is full of stories where we didn't respect that. But okay. So you have all of this happening tomorrow. You've got 52,000 immigrants in federal custody in May. You got 14,000 children being held. You got 24 immigrants, 24 who have died in custody. They just tell you about 6 kids. No, you got about 40 people, to tell you the truth, who died in our care. You know, they don't report about the 30-year-old man who died in our custody the other day, and nobody knows, exactly what the cause of death was. We'll get back to you. This is sick. This is a sickness. This is a cruel and disgusting regime called the Trump regime that we have now. We should not have to live in a country that has camps and raids. That is not America. That is some sick vision of America that only this man and his devout cult members have of America. Oh, I want to play you this before we leave, the hour, right? Here's what Trump's leadership has produced. The kind of hatred that it has produced. Here's 2 old ladies, 2 old biddies in a McDonald's, okay, in Florida. And the manager is speaking Spanish because, in Orlando, after we neglected these American citizens in Puerto Rico, a lot of people had no choice but to immigrate to, the mainland. So they came to Florida. A lot of people set up, their households in Orlando. Okay, they're Puerto Ricans, not Mexicans. They're American citizens. And this one man is a manager at McDonald's, a Puerto Rican man at McDonald's, and he was speaking Spanish to one of his employees. Well, this peeved the old biddy and her friends so bad they had to yell at him.
Go back to Mexico if you want to keep speaking Spanish. Go back to your Mexican country, your state, your country.
Guess what, man? I'm not Mexican. I'm not Mexican, but you're very prejudiced, and I want you out of my restaurant right now.
I'll finish my meal and then I'll...
You know what? I'll do it for you, man. I'll call the cops and have you catch that for me. It'll be easier for me. It'll be easier for you to have people like you, so ignorant and disrespectful. We are ignorant. You're very ignorant and disrespectful.
Have a good day. Get out of my restaurant. We aren't ignorant. She said, go back to Mexico. Go back to your country or your state. It's like, I'm not from Mexico. Finish your meal and get out of my restaurant. Because he's bilingual, that's somehow a negative now? To have more than one language is a bad thing.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
There's nothing that can phase this group. We're chilling. We got tea sipping. We got celebrations. We have pink hair and purple hair. We have tattoos and dreadlocks. We got white girls and black girls and everything in between. Straight girls and gay girls. Hey! I couldn't be more proud to be a co-captain with Carly and Alex with this team. It's my absolute honor to lead this team out on the field. There's no other place that I would rather be, even in the presidential race.
Well, she's amazing. That's Megan Rapinoe. And I didn't even know how to pronounce her name when I first noticed her on Twitter. And the reason why we noticed her on Twitter is because they were in the semifinals, right, of the World Cup, the women's soccer team was, and they asked her, well, if you win, will you be going to the White House? And she said, F the White House, because, she's a foul-mouthed old bitch like me, right? And so she said, F the White House, and that, was a shot heard around the world, and da-da-da-da-da, so Trump tweeted back at her, and he said, hey, why don't you get the job done first before you start saying you don't want to come to the White House? But either way, I'll invite you, and of course, he's never invited her, and I'll tell you, every media organization has, because she is what America looks like, sounds like, feels like, smells like. She is what we are about. She's about an inclusionary America, a better America, a constantly growing America, an America that recognizes that differences create strength and that teamwork is everything. So much winning from Megan Rapinoe. So much winning. So they asked her on CNN whether or not she had a message for the President of the United States, and she felt a little pressure. She did, because she's human. She's very human. She's super, super human. I mean, that's for sure. And she said, yeah, okay. So what I want to tell him is MAGA is exclusionary, okay? It's an old idea that time has passed. It has absolutely nothing to offer people like me or so many other people.
I think that I would say that your message is excluding people. You're excluding me. You're excluding people that look like me. You're excluding people of color. You're excluding, Americans that maybe support you. I think that we need to have a reckoning with the message that you have and what you're saying about make America great again. I think that you're harking back to an era that was not great for everyone.
Yeah. Exactly. It was not great for everyone. It was not great for gays. It was not great for blacks. It was not great for people who had English as a second language. People are rude when you have an accent on the phone. God knows. Yeah, it's a very exclusionary message. Make America hate again is, right? Let's just go back to Florida for a brief moment.
Go back to Mexico if you want to keep speaking Spanish. Go back to your Mexican country, your state.
Your country, your
Guess
state.
what, ma'am? I'm not Mexican. I'm not Mexican, but you're being very prejudiced, and I want you out of my restaurant right now.
I'll finish my meal and then I'll...
You know what? I'll do it for you, man. I'll call the cops and have you catch that for me. It'll be easier for me if easier for you to have people like you, so ignorant and disrespectful.
We are ignorant.
You're very ignorant and disrespectful. Have a great day and get out of my restaurant.
Don't worry, we're going. This isn't your restaurant.
Yes, it is, ma'am.
It is not.
And it is, actually, as a matter of fact, it is. I hate to say it, but it is.
Wow.
And you know what? The owner of this franchise is Mexican. His name is Guillermo Morales.
They always speak English.
No, they don't. He does not. You're very inconsiderate and you're very rude. So, get your business somewhere else. Get your business somewhere else.
You don't have to. You don't know how to act by around the people.
Excuse me, you're telling me not to speak my native language? You're being really prejudiced, ma'am. You're being really prejudiced.
I didn't tell you. I said you should speak it around here.
I have nothing to say to you, ma'am. Just have a nice day.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, it's so interesting. She doesn't know if Mexico is a country or a state. She doesn't know. And he's not Mexican to begin with. He's from Puerto Rico. He's an American citizen. He's the manager of that particular McDonald's. I mean, this is what the president creates. This is what... the leadership that we have, this is what a reality TV show host loves. This is a filthy, disgusting administration that goes after babies and infants and, won't protect children in general. I mean, you have this story of child molesters everywhere you look around this president. You have an unbelievably dirty bunch of people around the president who are in jail already, okay? You got Manafort sitting in jail, Cohen's in jail, Epstein's in jail, Flynn is going to go to jail. You got sentencing hearings all over. Roger Stone goes on trial in a couple of months. I mean, it's just so sick Everybody around this man is a criminal. Everyone around him. They defy subpoenas. They participate in cover-ups. They obstruct justice. Today, the president was supposed to be in the Rose Garden, and he was going to have some sort of an announcement on violating the Supreme Court's denial that he can include a citizenship question on the census. Now, you know why the Supreme Court ruled that he can't include a citizenship question on the census. It's because the lawyers in that case lied. They lied to the court so many times that the court had to do something about it. Something. So they said, well, you know, we wanted you to win because we know Republicans have to cheat in order to win. We know that because only, you got 5% of the population with the same representation in the Senate as 95% of the American population. And that's a good deal for Republicans. Gerrymandering, yeah, go ahead, do it. But in this case, we wanted to give you the citizenship question so you could cheat on the census. But we can't because you freaking lied to us so openly. When you made your oral argument to us in April, you said you needed a quick decision because you only had till the last day of June and then you had to print the damn census. Well, that turned out not to be true. And you also said it was because you wanted to enforce the protections afforded Americans under the Voting Rights Act, which, by the way, we gutted last session. And, we were willing to buy that. But then, you know what happened? After you made your oral argument to us in April, which we were buying, we were going to buy in, all of a sudden, this Thomas Hofeller dude in North Carolina died. And his daughter Stephanie was able to go through his effects and his things. And guess what? She didn't like that her father was cheating and gerrymandering. And her father was the one that had this harebrained idea of asking the citizenship question so that they could undercount Hispanics and they could undercount, people who weren't citizens of the United States, thereby depriving them of representation in the Congress, which would be a great thing for the Republicans, and also shortchanging those states with money, which is a great thing. But, we didn't get that evidence until after you lied to us, and now we have it, and we don't know what to do about you. And that's why they said no citizenship question on the census. So today, after Trump had his social media, summit with the most disgusting people on this planet, I hope they notified Russian intelligence. They probably did because Twitter went offline during the social media summit, and Reddit went offline during the social media summit. Just saying. He was supposed to, after that, at 3:45 Eastern, it is now 5:15 Eastern, he was supposed to have a little Rose Garden dog and pony show where he was going to say, I'm putting the question on the citizenship question on the census anyway, and the hell with the Supreme Court. But then someone must have told him that's a constitutional crisis, so now they think he's going to back off of it and do it some other way.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
These stupid raids are looking at the wrong people. The people that are here without documents are not criminals. This man here yesterday draped in the American flag behind the seal of the Cabinet Department of Labor. He's a criminal. These are the criminals.
You've mentioned several times that you and the prosecutors in your office weren't sure that you could secure a win in this case. But the very purpose of the CVRA is to give the victims an opportunity to weigh in. And a federal judge ruled that you broke federal law by not doing so.
You broke federal law.
Do you think that your thinking would have been different had you followed the law and consulted the victim?
Had you followed the law?
First, let me point out, we followed department policy. Department policy at the time made very clear.
At the time.
And this is in a written statement that was subsequently issued by what is called the Office of Legal Counsel, which is the chief policymaking, the chief legal arm of the Department of Justice.
OLC.
That These situations with non-prosecution agreements are not covered by the CBRA at the time because the CBRA, according to department policy, does not attach until a case is actually brought. Now, I understand that the judge had a different view, and I understand that the judge's view was that department policy did not comply with the law. And that's the way our system works. Our system works in that a judge can say what the department policy is not consistent with the law.
That's some fancy lawyering, baby. You'd pay $2,000 an hour for that kind of advice. That is just amazing. So the judge has a different view. The judge ruled that I broke the law, that I broke federal criminal law. Right now, we are waiting to see what the sentence is for Acosta, our labor secretary, who's in charge of child human trafficking, okay, and sex crimes against children. That all falls under his purview at the Labor Department. And we already have a federal judge who said he broke federal law in giving Jeffrey Epstein this non-prosecution agreement after a 53-page indictment was thrown on his desk by the FBI, who was called into this case by the Palm Beach Police Department because the state attorney at the time, Barry Krischer, after getting an 11-month investigation done on Epstein by the Palm Beach police, he had an 11-month investigation of Epstein thrown on his desk, Barry Krischer did. And Barry Krischer decided not to file the case, but oh no, he would go the route of a grand jury. But the grand jury would only hear what Barry Krischer presented to the grand jury, and Barry Krischer only presented one person, one underage girl, or I don't know which girl he chose because it's all secret, but we know it was only one person because there was only one count. And so the police department in Palm Beach County, Chief Ryder and his detective, Reckery, were so furious at the state attorney that they called the FBI. The FBI got involved and they found this massive interstate, intercontinental child trafficking ring and threw 53 pages of an indictment on Acosta's desk. And Acosta decided he'd give him a sweetheart deal. He called his old law partner, oh yeah, Jay Lefkowitz at Kirkland and Ellis, and said, your boy is going to go. They got him. Well, let's make a deal. Can't we all just get along? Yeah. We could all just get along. I mean, didn't you think that Barry Krischer had this all soda? We did. We thought he had had it under wraps, but he didn't. He didn't. It got to us. So now we have to get involved and we have to kill it. Those are the real criminals. And let me tell you who came from Kirkland and Ellis. Bill Barr came from Kirkland and Ellis. Our Attorney General, Ken Starr, who also represented Jeffrey Epstein, the independent counsel against Bill Clinton, which is how you know Bill Clinton did not go with young, underage girls, because Starr would have gotten them. He came from Kirkland and Ellis. Alex Acosta, our Secretary of Labor, he came from Kirkland and Ellis. Kavanaugh, who sits on the Supreme Court, he came from Kirkland and Ellis. The Deputy White House Counsel, Pat Philbin, he comes from Kirkland and Ellis. Brian Benchikowski, the criminal division head at DOJ, he's from Kirkland and Ellis. Robert Khuzami, who's the U.S. attorney at SDNY, he's from Kirkland and Ellis. And you know what Acosta did when Acosta became the labor secretary? Acosta decided that he would propose an 80% funding cut to his own agency. And that portion of the agency that combats child sex trafficking. Before Acosta, the budget for the Department of Labor, for that part of the Department of Labor, it's called the International Labor Affairs Bureau that fights child sex trafficking. They had a budget of $68 million last year. And now he has proposed reducing that budget in his own agency to $18.5 million. I'm serious. Take $50 million away from his own agent. And this is why Trump says he's doing a great job. He's doing a great job as Secretary of Labor. Why? Does he advocate for a $15 minimum wage? No. Does he advocate for better work environments and, a safer work environment? No. What he advocates for is deregulation and defunding of his own damn agency. And that's why Trump likes him. He is supposed to counter human trafficking. He's supposed to fight against child labor. He's supposed to fight against forced labor across the United States and around the world. The mission of his labor department is, quote, to promote a fair global playing field for U.S. workers. Sex trafficking of minors is a huge portion of what the Department of Labor is supposed to be doing. And he's advocated to cut the budget for that particular bureau inside his agency by $50 million. Now, you got Congress people, that are saying that Acosta's cut is reckless. It's amoral. And when you look at it alongside the sweetheart deal that he got for Epstein when he was put into the U.S. Attorney's Office by W back in the day, to cover this up, because Barry Krischer tried to cover it up and he failed miserably, and then Acosta tried to cover it up and he actually succeeded in the cover-up. And now he's gotten caught all these years later by the state of New York in the cover-up. These are the real criminals. These are the amoral. And, this is not a victimless crime, people. You got people sitting in jail for victimless crimes of drug possession for 10, 20, 25 years under these stupid mandatory minimum. And these child traffickers, they're the real criminals.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
As we've been discussing, the New York Times out today with new reporting on the ties between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Quote, through a mutual appreciation of wealth and women and years of occupying adjacent real estate in Palm Beach, and on page 6, the lives of the two men routinely intersected for decades until the connection turned from a status symbol into a liability. Mr. Trump made sure to publicize the fact that he had barred his one-time friend from his clubs. The falling out was reportedly over what the Times describes as, quote, a failed business arrangement. But before that falling out, a party was planned in which women were flown in, and the only other guests were Epstein and Trump. From that Times report, quote, it was supposed to be an exclusive party at Mar-a-Lago, Donald J. Trump's members-only club in Palm Beach, Florida. But other than the 24 or so women flown in to provide the entertainment, the only guests were Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein.
Yeah, it's because the girls weren't flown in for a party. The girls were the party. These are disgusting creatures. You're telling me, see, the reason why Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein aren't friends anymore is because Epstein got caught, and it became a PR liability to Donald Trump to be hosting Jeffrey Epstein at Mar-a-Lago after Jeffrey Epstein went to the county, the private wing in the county jail, where he set up a phony company called like American Science Institute or something, and said he was going to work every day at this crazy, stupid office that he set up on Australian Avenue here in West Palm Beach. Okay, and so they let him go to his fake business. And they, let him out 12 hours a day for 13 months every day except Sunday, because that's the day of the Lord. That's the day that they round up babies and infants and feed them, to the perverts, I guess. I don't know what we're going to do with the babies and infants, but I'm sure, these Trumpers, they'll figure out something to do with the children. They'll figure out something to do with children. These are disgusting criminals. There is no question that the criminals among us, don't look down to find them. Look up, baby. Look up. None of them ever get prosecuted. That's why it was so wild to see Manafort go to, well, he didn't go to Rikers because Trump intervened on his behalf, too, to keep him out of Rikers, right? Can't have him there. That's a bad prison. Let's send him to a camp. Michael Cohen, he's in Otisville. You know what Otisville is? It's a kosher, upper crusty, go outside, breathe the air, go catch salamanders, catch fireflies. I mean, this is not a real prison. Epstein is, Epstein's in a jail. But they'll transfer him to some, great island style, I mean, this is just so sick. They all cover up for each other. Every single one of them is disgusting. Even Acosta, he's in violation of federal law by a judgment of a federal court judge. The president was going to violate the Supreme Court today and put a citizenship question on the census until somebody pointed out, there's other ways to do it. You don't really need to, go full bore constitutional crisis. Do your raids, have some fun, kick back, enjoy the show. There'll be extra children. Of course he knew about Epstein.
But I interviewed George Hornahay on Wednesday, who had gone into a business arrangement with Trump to work at his casinos, to host these calendar girl competitions. And the point of the partnership was to drive business to the casinos. People, the gamblers themselves, would vote on the girls. And it was just a way to help Trump make more money at his casinos. So they partnered. And Trump requested they throw this party at Mar-a-Lago. So George, new partners with Trump, rounded up 28 girls to fly down to Mar-a-Lago. They were staying at the resort, and George told me he was shocked to find out that the only other guest at this alleged VIP party was going to be Jeffrey Epstein. He also said that Epstein was someone he had known over the years from these events he threw and knew had problems with younger women. And he said he warned Donald Trump about that night and at the time, saying, I can't have him going after younger women. He's a problem. I've had to bar him from events. And Trump just kind of waved it away and said, I'm not going to have a scandal. Don't worry about it. So Trump was aware of Jeffrey Epstein's behavior, according to George, had seen it, had been to his Palm Beach mansion, and wasn't really bothered by it until it became a problem, and he publicly made sure to very publicly cut ties with him and say he had banned him from all of his clubs.
He knew. He always knew. He hung out with him. He partied with him. He even told the New Yorker that he's fun. He likes Epstein. He likes beautiful women almost as much as he does. And, I mean, the president is a rapist. Jeffrey Epstein is a rapist. Dershowitz finally admits that he's had massages at Jeffrey Epstein's, but, he never saw underage girls. No, never saw underage girls. If he had seen underage girls, well, I would have just, never represented him. But, I was at his house a couple times, but maybe he had the underage girls in another part of the house. Yes, I got a massage, but it was from an old Russian woman. What are we talking about here? That Alan Dershowitz got massages at Jeffrey Epstein's house in the massage room that is right in his bathroom off of his bedroom, where these girls all describe the same exact thing. And Dershowitz went into that bathroom and laid on that massage table, but his girl wasn't underage, and he never. This is such crap.
Alan Dershowitz vehemently denies the allegations brought against him by Virginia Giuffre. He says he had no idea about the extent of the allegations against Jeffrey Epstein when he took on his case back in 2008. But he says defending controversial clients is just part of the job.
Did you ever see Mr. Epstein with underage girls?
No. Oh, no. If I had ever seen Jeffrey Epstein in any inappropriate situation with an underage girl, I would have terminated my relationship and turned him in. No way.
So you're obviously surprised by the allegations.
We were shocked by the allegations, but as a criminal lawyer, being shocked by an allegation doesn't mean that I won't defend somebody.
Alan Dershowitz helped negotiate what many have criticized as a lenient plea deal for Jeffrey Epstein in 2008. Dershowitz denies the deal was a bargain, instead arguing prosecutors lacked the evidence to indict Epstein for federal sex trafficking charges.
They thought they would lose, so they
made
cut
a
this deal.
And for them, it was not a bad deal. They got him to be a registered sex offender, to pay vast amounts of money to all of the women, and to get him to plead and go to jail and expose him for the world to see as a sex offender. I think the feds thought it was the best they could do.
An in-depth investigation by the Miami Herald in November uncovered police records alleging Epstein molested dozens of underage girls. One detective told the paper the evidence supporting the girls' claims was overwhelming.
Obviously, there's a lot of talk about this being a result of Mr. Epstein's wealth and power. Do you think anyone else would have gotten this sort of deal?
Oh, I think a lot of people without the power and wealth might have gotten a better deal.
What's wrong with him? No, seriously, dude. I mean, he said, there are clips of Dershowitz saying that if you didn't know Trump and Epstein, you didn't know anybody on Palm Beach. This has been going on since 1998, just so you know. And in 2008, he goes, oh, we were shocked to find out there were underage girls. And no, I never saw one.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, so Trump is in the Rose Garden right now, flanked by two men who have already been held in contempt of Congress by the committee, the Judiciary Committee. And I fully expect the full House to vote to hold Wilbur Ross and Bill Barr in contempt of Congress for failing to turn over documents related to the lies that they told to the court to give a pretext to the court that sounded, somewhat passable. Oh, well, we need to uphold the Voting Rights Act, right? But they said that wasn't the truth at all. The truth is to depress the participation in the census by asking a citizenship question, right? So Trump realized today, I guess they told him that, you could do this some other way. Now he's in the Rose Garden announcing an executive order.
The Supreme Court ultimately affirmed our right to ask the citizenship question.
Oh, Jesus.
And very strongly it was affirmed. But the Supreme Court also ruled that we must provide further explanation that would have produced even more litigation.
Yeah, because you
and
lied.
Considerable time delays. The
you
case is already
crimes.
in 3 federal district courts that have been, to be totally honest, extremely unfriendly to us.
Because you
These
lied.
delays would have prevented us from completing the census on time.
Oh, my God.
It's deeply regrettable, but it will not stop us from collecting the needed information, and I think even in greater detail and more accurately. Therefore, we are pursuing a new option to ensure a complete and timely count of the non-citizen population. Today, I will be issuing an executive order to put this very plan into effect immediately. I am hereby ordering every department and agency in the federal government to provide the Department of Commerce with all requested records regarding the number of citizens and non-citizens in our country.
What?
They must furnish all legally accessible records in their possession immediately.
Oh, my God.
We will utilize these vast federal databases to gain a full, complete, and accurate count of the non-citizen population, including databases maintained by the Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration. We have great knowledge in many of our agencies. We will leave no stone unturned. The Census Bureau projected that using previously available records, it could determine citizenship for 90% of our population or more. With today's executive order, which eliminates longstanding obstacles to data sharing, we're aiming to count everyone. Ultimately, this will allow us to have an even more complete count of citizens than through asking the single question alone. It will be, we think, far more accurate. The Census Bureau can use this information along with information collected through the questionnaire to create the official census. In other words, as a result of today's executive order, we will be able to ensure the 2020 census generates an accurate count of how many citizens, non-citizens, and illegal aliens are in the United States of America. Not too much to ask.
Oh my God, this is Nazi Germany. This is what IBM did for the Germans to identify Jewish people and gay people and people. Every agency is going to share all the information it has on every single American. You have sponsors of children in this country who have been called upon to take these children, and they are not documented. And through a confidentiality arrangement, these people have come forward and said, I will take the children. I will take my daughter's child. I will take my mother's child. I will take my niece. I will take my nephew. And now all of a sudden they're going to pool all this information about every single American, and they're going to know everything about you, everything. They're going to use the IRS too. They're going to use the Department of Homeland Security too. I mean, this is insanity. This is insane. There is no privacy anymore. And you know what's so interesting? This came right after his social media summit. They're going to know every single thing, every facial recognition, every driver's license, everything will be discoverable in one central location about you, about me, about everyone. And this president will know exactly how to target people for whatever purposes, he has in mind. This is sick. This is dangerous. This is lunacy. This is such a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, the right to privacy. This is so invasive and so wrong. This is really Nazi Germany. This is what this is. We are all in trouble. We are all in big trouble. Now, I do know that the House of Representatives is going to have a full vote on holding these two men that flank him with this. And the only reason why they're doing it, let me just tell you this, is because they can't win unless they cheat. Okay? There's no way that they can win unless they cheat. They have 22 Senate seats that are being challenged this year. 22. All we need is 3 and the presidency, and we have a majority in the Senate. And they know that. So they have to cheat. Now, if Donald Trump doesn't get reelected, he's going to jail, and he knows that. He's already an unindicted co-conspirator in one case. So right after Mueller testifies, and Mueller testifies next Wednesday, right after Mueller testifies, the full House is going to take a vote, and they're going to vote to hold Wilbur Ross and Bill Barr in contempt. Now, here's the problem with it. It'll be criminal contempt. So what happens there? We've explained it to you. Criminal contempt citations from the House go to Bill Barr. Now, because Bill Barr will be a subject of the contempt, it will have to go to his deputy. The entire White House is tainted. Now, whoever, at DOJ, whoever's desk that contempt citation lands on, that person is supposed to convene a grand jury. And that grand jury will only hear the evidence that prosecutor, that person, shows them. Just like in the Epstein cover-up. Just like that. This is freaky scary. Every piece of information on every single American is going to be given to the White House, is going to be given to this man so that he can target friendlies and unfriendly. I mean, the idea, they're going to know everything about everybody. And it's all, digital. Holy crap, man.
This will greatly inform a wide array of public policy decisions.
Oh, my God.
This information is also relevant to administering our elections. Some states may want to draw state and local legislative districts based upon the voter eligible population.
Oh, no.
Indeed, the same day the Supreme Court handed down the census decision, it also said it would not review certain types of districting decisions, which could encourage states to make such decisions based on voter eligibility.
He doesn't know what
With
he's
today's
talking
order,
about.
we will collect all of the information we need to conduct an accurate census and to make responsible decisions about public policy, voting rights, and representation in Congress.
Oh, my God. Republican majority forever based on 5% of the population. Oh my God. I have to sit with this and process this all the way to the end. This is bizarro world. Doug in Denver.
Hey, Randy. Well, what you're just talking about now kind of changes everything because I think it's a lot more important, but I was so happy you were talking about Dershowitz. It's all falling into place for me now. Trump, a couple of days ago when he talked about Acosta, he actually said, when I made the deal to bring him on, that was his exact words, when I made the deal to bring him on.
Yeah.
So the deal had to be Epstein's attorneys wanted to bring Acosta on as labor secretary because he's in charge of human trafficking so that they could try to get this to all go away. And now Dershowitz is in on it. That's why he's been so cozy with Trump, is because he's in with Epstein. Epstein was like the master of extortion and blackmail. He gathered information on all these big people, Clinton, I think, too. I mean, so that he could get away with whatever he wanted.
Well, let's hope.
Unbelievable.
Let's hope Epstein sings like a canary. Let's hope he's got a really good operatic, giant voice.
I hope so.
Wouldn't that be something? He makes the ultimate deal, and because this guy, man, he kept records. Man, did he keep 14 numbers for Donald. I mean, he knew there's everything he has.